Hi, guys, and welcome back to Too Much. And happy almost New Year's. I think today is New Year's Eve for y'all. For me, it's December 18th still. I'm doing 2 episodes back to back. So last week's episode, I just recorded. I did a quick outfit change from my pajamas to this. I tried to be New Year's Eve. This is all I could muster today. Also, as you can imagine, New Year's Eve for me is just black. I don't really do sequins. What am I even fucking talking about today? Okay, so today's episode, I'm kind of winging, but intentionally, because it's the end of the year. And of course, this time of year is all about new beginnings and this cultural pressure to sprint into New Year, New Me. Every dinner ends with, let's go around and say our New Year's resolutions and, what are you most excited about for 2026 and all that bullshit, which I love. I am here for. But before you decide who you want to be in 2026, I think it's more important to look back and see who you showed up as in 2025. The person that you showed up as for every obstacle you encountered, every hiccup, every loss, every win, every accomplishment. Who was that person? Did you like that person? Do you want to go into 2026 with that person? The new year is not always about reinventing yourself. It's quite often just about integrating yourself and seeing how you want to play things out. So this episode, I'm going to be doing my self-reflection, which I really haven't done yet. So this is it. We're doing it together. And I'm also going to be talking about what I want to do in the new year. So this is kind of another little time capsule episode. Maybe something crazy will happen in 2026 and I'll play this clip and be like, damn, that bitch had no idea what was coming. I love those memes right now that are like, notice how no one's saying 2026 is going to be my year because we all know better. I kind of think it's going to be my year. But anyways, let's talk about 2025 first. For me, personally, this has quite literally been the most evolutionary year of my life, starting with day one. So for some context, if you are new here, which I don't know if any of you are or what, but on December 31st, exactly 1 year ago, 2024, I texted my co-host of the podcast Unhinged, and I told her I wanted out. I told her I wanted to end the podcast. 1 year ago today. A few hours later, went to dinner. Someone asked me what my goals were for 2026. And I said, I want to start my own podcast. And from that day forward, that is exactly what I fucking did. So as a quick little recap, if again, you don't know, the ashes from which I rose, I gave my formal notice on December 31st, 2024. And after that day, I was ghosted for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, 27 days to be exact. I sent 8 other pieces of outreach, emails, whatever you want to say, everything by the book, very legal, super mature, extremely laid out of how I wanted to split things because we had an implied partnership, which was 50-50. This all spanned from January 1 to January 27th. And over that time, there's so much lore here. Go watch the episode if you haven't already. But it was back in April. It was called The Truth About Unhinged. And essentially, I changed some account passwords, which was in my right because I also offered them back to her because I was trying to be like, hey, hi, call me. Didn't go over well. She instead locked me out of every single account that we had, including our Spotify, Apple, YouTube, email, everything. Still didn't answer me. Still didn't get back to me in my 8 emails. And finally responded on January 27th. And in this time also, I was like, well, fuck, I already sent in my notice of dissolution, so I can do whatever I want now, and I'm going to start my own podcast. So I started Too Much. I came up with the name on January 7th, 2025. I did my photo shoot on January 16th. No, That's not even true. I did my photo shoot on January 20th and I launched January 21st. The 1 year of this podcast is January 21st. So I did that. She responded to me on January 27th, offered me a bullshit deal. I said, I will speak with my lawyer. Please do not touch the accounts. In the meantime, what did she do? She touched the accounts. She deleted everything, all the episodes, changed the name. It went from Unhinged to Unbothered. There was a new co-host sitting in my chair. Go watch the episode. I ended up hiring a lawyer, and this whole experience lasted 4 months. That was my start to 2025. From day one until April 10th, I think it was, or 15th. That's what I was going through. And it taught me things about myself that I never expected. The first thing it taught me was boundaries. It was the first time I feel like they were really tested in like my adult life, especially professionally. And I learned that I am A, very capable of identifying that lines have been crossed, and B, even more capable and able to walk away from any situation that does not fit my narrative, no matter the cost. And this one, the cost was something that I had built for a year and a half. 18 months I spent working on that podcast, day in and day out, pouring myself into it. And to my surprise, sort of, I kind of knew I had it in me, but like, it took balls. It took balls to say, enough is enough. I have been pushed too far. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and I needed something to change. And I knew that this person was completely out of my control. Her actions are out of my control. The only thing that is in my control is my attitude and my effort and my choices. And so I said, I'm done beating a dead horse. I'm done trying to explain to someone what I deserve. And instead, I'm going to walk away. And the cost was that I knew I was going to lose something that I was so passionate about. I was going to lose this audience, that my baby that I built. But my self-respect is worth far more than that, than a platform. So I bit the bullet and I walked away and I stuck to my boundaries because, like I always say, boundaries are for you, not for them. You cannot force someone to adhere to your boundaries. And then it taught me resilience, or it showed me how resilient I can be. When the podcast had been switched over, stolen, and changed to Unbothered, there was a video posted about me that was full of lies for the entire audience that I had a 50% hand in building was seeing. And it was full of bullshit about me. Even redacting things I said in emails. But again, just go watch the episode and I do all the screenshots and overlays. But despite all of this, despite something that I had worked so hard on just being ripped out from under me and someone trying to tear me down and tell lies about me, I was like, fuck if I let this bring me down. I knew I was going to start this podcast. I knew it was going to be mine and that I was able to bring what I wanted to into the world, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me. I truly demonstrated to myself, and I think others, what it means to be resilient. And I was really proud of myself for doing that. I hit the ground running. I did not miss a beat. Our last episode aired January 14th, and I picked up right where we left off, and I launched mine on January 21st. I launched with 2 episodes. I will be finishing out this year with 54 episodes because I did 2 for the breakup too. And I powered the fuck through. I started this podcast from nothing. On January 21st, I had 0 followers. And today, on December 18th, I've got 316,000 on TikTok. I've got 129,000 on Instagram. Oddly, 200,000 on Facebook. And I've touched millions of lives, I would say, based on the reach of all the videos that have gone viral. That is priceless. That is why I did it. I saw the long-term goal and I just went for it. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. I was still working with a lawyer when 4 months into this podcast. And I didn't say a word of it because I couldn't until April. With 0 followers, 0 listeners, but an infinite amount of hope and self-trust, I got myself to where I am today. And the road was crazy. It was wild. It was so much more rewarding than I thought it was going to be. the amount of you that have reached out to me, now I'm going to cry, telling me that I've changed your lives and in a way that just felt so much more impactful than when I was on Unhinged. In a way where it felt like we were seeing each other. We are seeing each other. And you guys get me. And it seems that I get you too, because we are all in this together. We are not alone in the muchness. And that too, this like culture that I feel like I've created, the muchness, the community, it feels like it's really the start of something extraordinary. And it's only been 1 year of it. So imagine what we'll do in 5. I also launched merch, which was crazy. That was like a huge goal of mine when I was on Unhinged. Never happened, despite all my efforts. And the fact that there is anyone out there wearing a hat that says too much or wearing a sweatshirt that says too much is the most unbelievable feeling. And I know it's just starting there, but it's crazy. It's really, 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 really cool. So yes, the podcast being stolen from me was a hurdle. It was an obstacle. But the highlights of my year have been how rewarding it's been to push through that. And the amount of connections that I've made with all of you and the caliber of connection is just, you can't put any sort of price on that. So thank you. I'm eternally grateful. That's definitely been the highlight of my year. And I happen to, for the first time, I think in my life, follow through with my New Year's resolution or goal. It was to start my own podcast, and I did it. The next thing that was not on my bingo card for 2025 was my breakup. I walked into this year wholeheartedly believing that this would be the year that I would get engaged. And that couldn't be more off from my current reality. But again, it taught me something about myself that I am so incredibly proud of. And that is that when faced with the opportunity to keep a life that I was comfortable in, that wouldn't make me have to move, start over, all of that, and the only cost was to dim myself, I decided that that was a price that was just far too high to pay. It was one of the first times in my life that I can confidently say that I did not self-abandon. And I know I've said that before, but in my self-reflection episode right now, I genuinely chose myself. I know I haven't shared every single detail of our breakup, and that again is just out of respect for all parties involved. But he was the catalyst of it. You know, he was the one who had the cold feet at first, and then it ebbed and flowed, and I realized it wasn't really what I was wanting for my future and my future partner. And then he was ultimately the one who was like, okay, you were right. And I was like, okay, we're done. Whatever. Semantics. But if I wanted to stay in that relationship because it would have been easier than starting over as a 31-year-old woman living in New York City, moving out of my apartment, splitting all of our belongings, getting a new apartment, having to go back out to the streets and date these fucking guys, I could have. Because the problem in our relationship was that I was too much. That the life I wanted to live was too much for someone else. I would have had to dial it back. I would have had to maybe not have this career. Could I have given that all up for a man? Yes, absolutely. And I would still be in a relationship. But what kind of life is that to live? How could I ever do that to myself? I have fought to be here. I have fought to be the person that I am. I have secluded myself, isolated myself, taken myself out of situations just so I can keep being me. And that would have been such a disgrace if I decided to shrink for someone. When faced with this, I said, I will not tell the woman that I have fought to be that she needs to be more digestible because she is too much for someone who is not comfortable in their own skin. I'd rather be alone. And then, to my surprise, completely unplanned, at 31 years old, I had to move out of an apartment that I planned to be in for years, that I actually planned to have my first child in. I had to go find a new apartment. I had to get all new furniture. I had to re-download the apps, get back out there. It was a massive pivot from this pre-fiance life that I was living into this new life as a single woman in my 30s, which, by the way, is fucking awesome. So that was unexpected. That was a crazy, life-altering thing that happened. And not for nothing, for someone to have 2 life-altering events happening in 1 year, that's like a lot. But I would like to say I knocked both out of the park. And it's crazy. I don't know if you guys are seeing this too, but I've been seeing all of this talk and these posts and whatever of the fact that this is the year of the snake. And what do snakes do? They shed their skin. It's very odd. I know so many people right now that have just gotten out of relationships, marriages, engagements in the last 2-3 months. And then next year is the year of the horse. And it's supposed to be this thing where we are shedding our skin and we are all going to rise up like a stallion and fucking run through walls next year. And that's what I'm going to fucking do. So yes, I faced a lot of adversity this year. And I could sit here and say, thank God this year is over. But instead, I am sitting here celebrating the fucking performance that I just put on. Like, bravo, Emma. God damn. I'm really satisfied with this year. I mentioned this in the last episode about how I've become so comfortable being alone. And it's the data. And I think it goes the same for me when it comes to facing obstacles. Time and time again, when different freaking line drive balls have been thrown my way, I have been knocking them out of the park. And because I can see these patterns and see that I have been able to handle it, I know and trust myself to handle all the obstacles that are to come. Because obviously there will be more. Because I love drama. So I'm very pleased, regardless of the shit. And I think that's something that we all forget to do. Instead of looking at the pain that we've endured and saying, thank God that's over, why not raise a glass and celebrate ourselves for being able to survive it? Saying you are one strong ass bitch and you got through things that would make a lot of other people crumble. Cheers. Happy New Year. Let's do it again. I think, when you're at dinner and people are asking what your highs were from the year and your successes were, they don't need to be promotions or milestone achievements. They could be emotional wins. They could be the quiet wins. They could be the decisions that you made for yourself that nobody knows about. They can be choosing yourself even when it was hard, even when it meant flipping your house. What? Oh my God. I was just quoting Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Jesus Christ. I was gonna flip it upside down. I like to take a minute just sitting right there, telling you how I became the princess of a town called New York City. But seriously, your success could be you choosing yourself, even when it was hard and even when it meant that you were going to have to completely turn your life upside down. That is a huge win. That to me is success. It's an achievement. Not everyone can do it. Also an achievement, the times you said no, the times you walked away, the times you started over. I've had 2 of those this year in my professional and personal life. It's crazy. I had a crazy year. But I wouldn't change a goddamn thing. So ask yourself, when you're reflecting and making your plans for 2026, what didn't work out this year? What did not pan out the way that I had expected it to? Who is not coming with me into 2026? What fell apart? And then ask yourself, how are all of these events going to be the seeds that help me grow, if they haven't already? If something didn't work out this past year, look at it as information, not a verdict. It's the data and evidence that you're collecting so that you can go into this new year with open eyes and a better understanding of yourself and what you're capable of. So that when you're making your goals, you can sit there and say, I can do that. I can show up consistently at 100% and get what the fuck I want. I think I can confidently say that this past year gave birth to who I will be for the rest of my life. I had a metamorphosis of a year. And I'm not saying this to brag. I told you this is my time capsule, my self-reflection episode. but I hope it jacks you up. But seriously, had I been complacent, had I stayed on that podcast, I don't know where I would be. We actually were in talks with like Unwell to maybe join that squad. Imagine I had signed a contract. That's another thing. Very crazy. Like, yes, do I kick myself for not signing a contract with my ex co-host and, losing out on money? Sure. But what if I had signed a contract? What if we had signed a contract with a network that we were looking to make a deal with? Because there were a lot of them. All of those things that did not work out in 2024 set me up so that I could make the moves that I needed to make in 2025. Thank God the things that I wanted did not work out the way that I wanted them to, because otherwise I would not be where I am right now. And I love where I'm standing. I feel like I'm going into this new year stronger, clearer, even more self-trusting, more discerning with energy. I am jacked up for this year. I really am. Like, I thought I was a phoenix rising from the ashes last year. Now it's like this past year was just like the practice run. I'm going to be less reactive, more intentional, more proactive. Like, I am going to run through walls, break down doors, break all the ceilings. I'm going to be a bull in a fucking china shop this year. Going into a new year, it doesn't need to be about reinventing yourself. I'm not going to reinvent myself. I am taking who I became this past year. I'm returning to myself just with more information, a very strong and smart head on my shoulders. And like, I'm in my 30s, which is also awesome. Like, I'm about to turn 32 next month. I feel like that's a great age. Like, that's like a woman, But you do not just enter a new year. You do have to exit the old one intentionally. Otherwise, you're just carrying unfinished emotional business forward into the new year and you're calling it new energy. It's not, if you don't properly leave the past in the past. You can bury the year, sure, but you cannot leave those lessons behind. Leaving this year without the proper self-reflection will just allow those years to repeat themselves. So we need to let go of some things. Let go of the guilt that you may carry for not knowing what you did not know. Hindsight does not mean that you were foolish in the past. It doesn't mean that you were stupid. It means that you have evolved and you're seeing clearly now and you can look back with clarity. So let that go. Let go of any shame that you may be holding for the decisions that you made when you were in survival mode. Let go of the timelines that you did not plan for and the endings that you did not write. What you thought you'd have by now versus what you actually have by now. I thought there was going to be a ring on my goddamn finger. But you know what? There's rings on all the other fingers, and I think they look pretty good. And also, thank God I dodged that very slow-moving bullet, because it wouldn't have killed me now, but it would have killed me in like 10 years. And I hope to do this once. We'll see, though. And also, let go of the versions of yourself that did their best. Maybe they're not who you want to show up as now. Maybe that's not the version that you want to bring into 2026. But that person still existed. That version was still a chapter of your year, and it deserves credit for getting you through. So acknowledge it, but let it go. She doesn't need to come with you. He doesn't need to come with you. That's something you can leave behind. But the lessons that version learned, that is what you need to take with you. Do not let anything that happened in 2025 die in vain. And the most important and often overlooked thing that I think is skipped when people are going into the new year is that you are allowed to grieve your expectations, relationships, versions of yourself, plans that felt certain. You can honor disappointment without living in it, without carrying it around with you. Grief is okay, but you need to define the end of it. Choose when you are done grieving. It's not something that has to stick around forever. I took about 4 days to grieve my relationship, and that worked for me. So whatever works for you. But what a wonderful time to decide, okay, I'm done sitting on my pity pot. It's a new year. We're clean slating. Decide that it's now if you want. So properly lay to rest 2025. And when you're going into the new year and someone asks you what your resolutions are, think about it. Write it down. Film a video like I am right now and put it in your pocket and save it for a rainy day for next year. I don't know why I'm quoting so many movies today. That was Princess Diaries. Put it in your pocket and save it for New Year's next year, not for a rainy day. But ask yourself, how do I want to feel in 2026? What do I no longer want to be available for? What am I willing to commit to consistently? This isn't just like, I want to drink more water. This is, what goals do I think I'm capable of, or do I want to push myself to be capable of, that I know that I can consistently work towards and will want to commit myself to work towards throughout the year? Q1, 2, 3, and 4. You don't need certainty, you need self-trust. You don't need perfection, you need presence. Remind yourself that you are capable of handling what comes next because of the data. I don't know what happened to you this year, but you made it through. And next year is just an opportunity. Opportunity for good and bad things to happen, of course, because I'm a realist, but opportunity nonetheless. So, what are my resolutions, you ask? I don't know. I'm thinking about it literally right now. I'm going to actually answer the questions that I just told you to ask yourself. How do I want to feel? I want to feel on top of the world. I want to feel invigorated. I want to feel like I did it for myself and I got it done. And I do want it to just be the beginning. I want to feel like I'm still running with this non-self-abandonment thing. I want to make sure that I feel like I kept my word and I feel like I'm loyal to myself. What am I no longer available for? Bullshit. When this question is asked, my mind immediately goes to relationships and my personal life. And what I'm no longer available for is making excuses for other people. I don't want to get into another relationship for a while. But if I do, I don't want there to be a single thing where I'm like, well, there's this, but he's this. I'm really done with that. I'm no longer available for any type of settling. I've settled a lot in the past, and I think this woman that I've become and this person that I'm going into 2026 being, she deserves everything she wants. I do not need to sacrifice. I'd rather be alone than sacrifice anything else of what I don't want. That is what I've decided. And then what am I willing to commit to consistently? This empire I'm building. Some tangible goals. By the end of 2026, I want to have written my first children's book. I can't remember if I've talked about this on here or told you guys that I'm doing that, but I am. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I feel like a lot about what I talk about on the podcast are things that are rooted in childhood. So why not get ahead of it? Why not start teaching the muchness to kids? Because ages 6 to 8, let's say, those are the people, those are the humans, the kids, whatever, being dealt their first hand of, you're too much. You're not enough. And I want them to know that it is okay to be themselves. I want them to know that that's all they should ever try to be, is authentically and unapologetically themselves. So that is what the book is going to be about. And it's going to be a series. And I've started on it. I'm very excited. I will not share too much more, but this is my little time capsule. So I will have written my first children's book, hopefully have it published. I don't really know how long these things take, by the end of 2026. That's number one. Number two, I want to be a household name. I want to triple my following and my reach, and I want to take over the fucking world, guys. Because I can, because I have no one else to worry about. I have no one else that I have to exert energy on. I have no one else to answer to. This time is mine. I'm sure there'll be a relationship somewhere in there. So I'm sure I'm going to have to like fucking divert some of the attention, but I'm committing that to myself. What else? I want to continue to nurture all my friendships. I will do that. I can commit to that. Committing to nurturing myself more and loving myself and my body, just like I do right now. I want to make sure I still feel that way at the end of this year and all the years to come. And I'd like to start doing some more charity work. Maybe get involved in some sort of a nonprofit. Just that. Just a couple little goals for this year. Just nothing too crazy. Just total world domination. All in a day's work. So those are my goals. That's my reflection of the year. I've been through a lot. And I want to like give myself a hug for surviving it, for thriving in it. And then talking about it and telling you guys everything and being vulnerable. Like, I have put a lot of emotional and physical stress on my body this year, and I need a vacation. One that doesn't involve destroying my liver, one that involves like massages and peace and quiet. Maybe that's somewhere in my near future. Maybe I'll do that for my birthday. Who knows? But good job, Emma. Good job. So, yeah, that's kind of it. Short but sweet episode. I'm just proud. Proud to be sitting here, proud for how I've handled everything. I think I did it with grace, all of it. Obviously, ran my mouth with a martini in hand at my girl dinners, but at least publicly, I handled everything with grace. And I gotta say, 27-year-old Emma would not have handled half of these things the way that I did. So here's to growth. Here is to grace. And here is to getting everything that you goddamn want. I hope everyone has a happy and healthy and safe new year. And thank you. Thank you for being a part of this journey this year. Thank you for supporting me, for supporting the podcast, for always writing in and being in my corner. I promise to deliver for years to come. And yeah, here's to 2026. I can't wait to see what is in store. Love you all. 5 stars. Leave comments. Tell me what you think. Follow Emma's Too Much everywhere, Life of Emma page, and I will see you in 2026. Bye.